All right, guys, welcome back. This is the intro to the intro again. Yeah, we keep doing this, and I'm glad. We're talking about our sponsor, Bad Motivator. Well, you're probably thinking, well, you already have their sponsorship, so why? Okay, here's the deal. We changed sponsorship. Chris and I were talking, and we decided instead of using the promo code, we're going to have an affiliate link. And so what you do is you go to the affiliate link at the bottom in the description of this podcast or my YouTube, or I'm going to try and put it on my Instagram as well. Facebook is kind of iffy. I'll put it in the Facebook, but anyway, long story. It'll be an affiliate link. You'll click that affiliate link. It'll let Chris know, hey, somebody from Whiskey Shaman's coming over here and they're looking at barrels. And when they buy a barrel, it lets them know it's from my crew. I call you my crew or what. I need to come up with a name for you guys. If you have any names, let me know in the comments. And so basically it just lets him know. It gives me a ding, and we work it like that. So I appreciate all of you who have purchased barrels through the promo code, and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for all who responded to the giveaway. It was amazing. And Germ, you deserved it. So yeah, it was really cool, and I'm glad that all that happened. And we're going to do another giveaway soon. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so we were thinking, let's do an affiliate link. It's going to be ongoing for a while. We don't know how long. We're just going to let it roll. Christopher and Bad Motivator Legacy, they are amazing people to work with, and I will sponsor them until I'm blue in the face. You can see the barrel right behind my head, and if you're listening, there's a barrel right behind my head. That's the Gary Anna oak, which is a 10-year-old Oregon oak. You don't get that. You don't get that anywhere, brother. I promise. You're not going to get that anywhere. It's special, okay? And it's a special product in there. So we'll talk about the product in there on a later podcast. But so we're doing an affiliate link. Click on the affiliate link. Go buy you a barrel. It gives me a ding. It let Christopher know that y'all are coming from me. I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't thought about a Bad Mo barrel, they look cool on the shelf. I don't care if you're into making whiskey, whatever you want to do. That doesn't matter. They look cool on the shelf. They're cool as hell. You can put anything you want in it. You can put beer, wine, anything in it and age it. It's super cool. You can make a cider, put a hard cider in there. That would be fun. Anyway, long story short, go to use the affiliate link below, and it will take you to Bad Motivator. You'll buy a barrel like normal. You don't have to put a coupon code. You don't have to do anything. It's through the affiliate link. I'll get a ding for it. It'll help me out. It'll help the podcast out, but it'll also help Christopher out. That way he can get a record of who all's buying. And that's it. That's all you have to do. There's no, you don't have to type anything in. You don't have to do anything else. Just click the link below. Pretty simple. And as always, keep your spirits up and enjoy this podcast, because I guarantee it's a banger. All right, guys, welcome back. Today we got a pretty cool little guest here. Not a little guest. I didn't mean to say little. We got a pretty cool guest here. We got Shane with Storytime Distilling, and he's going to talk to us about their background, their process, all of the things that they got going on. And we're going to get into a little whiskey talk as well. So without further ado, here's Shane.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Randall.
No problem. No problem. I'm glad we can make this work. I'm glad that you were available and be able to work around my schedule. I know that gets a little tricky sometimes, and I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm
always eager to engage, by the way. I'm always eager to engage in the community. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Let's start at the beginning. What's kind of your background personally? And then we'll get into the more distillery related stuff. Did you come from, any sort of whiskey or distilling background, or were you IT or something like that?
Not IT.
Okay.
Thank God. Engineering is my background.
Okay.
Manufacturing, specifically rooted in machining. So kind of in the old tool maker trade, that type of background. And then it developed. I've since moved up in different operational roles, started running companies, running engineering departments, then deploying new facilities and that kind of thing. And for me, it was a natural attachment to the craft of whiskey making because of really my passion for kind of the trades in general, right? I have a very fond appreciation of skilled labors and specifically, things that take the time and the experience. Um, and I never was much of a drinker growing up, and actually I didn't get drunk for the first time until I was 25 years old. So I wasn't really much of a liquor guy or even a beer guy or anything. Um, but I got introduced to tequila with a customer I had down in Mexico. Um, and they took me to a tequila distillery, and I just fell in love with the craft of what was being done and the tradition and the history. And then at some point around 2013, 2014, I found whiskey, specifically bourbon. Um, and it was, as you get into it and what really I think is a big appeal for a lot of people is there's a story that comes with these bottles, and there's always some background. There's more to it than just a drinking experience. There's this kind of envelopment in history, if you will, and it's a nice way to kind of level the playing field and talk to people on even planes, so to speak. So uh, as I kind of got attracted to it and got more into it, and then I realized, wow, this is something that it takes a tremendous amount of skill and history and experience to understand how to do this. And everyone who tries to cheat the system fails. And so I love that. I love that the best whiskey is the one that's bottled at the right time. Not always the oldest, but at the right time.
Yeah.
And so many people try to cheat the formula in the big. I understand kind of in the mass consumption market, you have to do that. But to me, the beauty of it is really these individual barrels, and I love that um, variability, right? Because each barrel speaks a different story and has a different impact. And so again, that I guess to answer your question, that's what just kind of drew me in. But yeah, background was engineer.
Okay, cool. Cool. I mean, because I mean, I've done, as my listeners know, I've talked to a wide gamut of people who, started out their pappy was a moonshiner, their pappy's pappy was a moonshiner, and then they just kind of went through the ranks and ended up in a distillery because they wanted legit work, and now they're a big wig in a distillery. Or you get the other ones that are like, hey, I was a beer brewer, I worked for a brewery, and then I got into this, and I've had a couple of them that were in oil and gas. So it's like it's just one of those things that's all over the place, which is really cool about whiskey and the whole distilling community, not just whiskey. It draws people from all over to be kind of imbibing in this spirit, not only physically but mentally as well. Because like once you get into it, you get wholeheartedly into it. I mean, I have books, and I'm just doing so much freaking research on. And this one actually, it'll be out Canadian whiskey. Yeah, it's a thing, I guess. Anyway, so by the time this video comes out, that one will already be out, so it's fine. We can talk about that. But so let's talk a little bit about Storytime. And for one, where the name came from, which I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, where the name came from and kind of where the whole concept of that came in, because I feel like the story continues.
Oh, it definitely does, right? It's always ongoing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you know, go back to 2020. We're in the height of the pandemic. All of the social fabric of this country has been decimated, and people were connecting through whiskey, and specifically through whiskey tube, as we like to colloquially call it. And one thing that really just kind of impressed on me was this community that, with all of the stuff that was going on around us, all of the divisiveness and the hate and just this very polarizing environment that we were in, here was a group of people, and rule number one on every whiskey tube channel was no politics. We're not going there.
Absolutely.
Right. and I, so that to me, Drew, is I think one of the reasons why a lot of people got drawn into it, because right here's this kind of a safe space. I don't have to pull off my shirt and show that I'm, red or blue. I'm just me. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed this community really started taking care of their own. And, people were down and out, struggling through the pandemic, trying to figure out how to make things happen. Health issues, tons of people having health issues, natural disasters, there was tornadoes, there was all kinds of stuff that was going on. And yet this whiskey community just rose up, man, and just came to the aid of all those people. So it just inspired me to say, look, when I think about this community, I think about where it's going, we want it to continue to grow. And the reason we want it to continue to grow is because it's one of the most neutral impacts in our society, right? It's like I can set a bottle down, and it's a bottle that you have probably tried before and you hate it, and I just found it, right? And I absolutely love it.
Yes.
I'm so excited to share that with you. And you know what? Even though you hate that bottle, you are still going to drink that bottle with me, and you're still going to have, and you might even crap on that bottle the whole time we're drinking it, but we're still going to share that experience together. And that Absolutely. To me is like, that's where this country, that's where this world needs to get back to, is like, push all that other stuff out of the way. And mm-hmm. So the inspiration then came, is like, okay, how do we grow this? How do we make sure that the next generation of this community experiences what we're experiencing now? Because even though all the negative stuff, there's this huge positive connectivity that was happening, and the next generations needed to see that. They needed to understand that. So, and part of that was, okay, we're running out of stories to tell, right? You talked about people you've talked with, their pappy was a moonshiner, and or 6 generations back. I mean, a lot of these whiskey brands have just beat that drum to no end, and we're getting to, got to the point, or is getting to the point, or has gotten to the point of ridiculousness. Like, these stories have just gotten out of control. A lot of BS out there.
Yes.
And so to me, I was like, okay, rather than making up stories, why don't we focus on this community and build the next generation of stories to continue to draw people into this community, to talk about all the positive things that we do as a community, how we went through one of the biggest social fracturing events in our history, and still managed to maintain and hold on. Right. And so what better way than to create a brand that then ultimately was meant to serve the community. Mm-hmm. This isn't, for lack of better words, my mind wasn't thinking I want to grow this whiskey empire. But that's never part of the equation for me. This has always been really about the community, about the people, connecting the people in a way that, like, you can get a high quality bourbon or rye or whatever. You can enjoy it with your friends and your family, and you don't have to sweat the price. You don't have to, sweat going out and waiting in line for 12 hours and all the, like, I just want this common connection. It's high quality. We can experience it single barrels at a time right now is what I'm focusing on, so that every experience is different. And it builds these stories. Oh, you remember that one barrel or that one bottle, or that, that's what I'm after. And that's kind of what really kind of kicked this whole thing off.
Wow. That's really amazing, because, you get a lot of people that, like you say, they come into the community and they're like, I'm going to make this much money. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And you came in at it through more of a community mindset, where you're like, hey, I want us to do this. Yeah, I'm going to front run my part of it, but like, I want us as a community to do this. You guys tell me, does this suck or not? Because if not, I won't do it again. So like, and that's what's really cool. And that's one thing, like, where I found you was from Old Fashioned Ways Plus on YouTube. Make sure you follow and like his stuff. But like, he did a bottle share. He opened up the bottles and tried them, and I was like, hey, that's really cool and really interesting. And And, you know, I was like, okay, I got to see what this guy's doing. So that's part of the community we're talking about, you know, whereas otherwise I might not have found out about you for another year or so. And then we'd still be talking, but it'd be a year later down the road. But,
yeah.
you know, it's just one of those things that's really amazing, the community aspect of it. And then when you start talking about the storytelling of the new generation, because I was taught in whiskey, you know, that every whiskey has a story, but it's not always the whiskey story. Sometimes it's your story with that whiskey. And I feel like you're kind of on that same page. Yeah, the whiskey's cool, it's great, but it's like who you're with, what you're drinking about, you know, where you're at. You know, you can have the crappiest whiskey sitting in the Alps and hanging out with your best friends. You can have the crappiest whiskey and it's the best time. Or you could be sitting there drinking Pappy 23 in the basement of somebody's house and their grandma's making a meatloaf. You know, I mean, it just depends. You know, it's all set and setting on that. So
100%.
So with Storytime, you consider yourself an independent bottling company, correct?
Yes. Well, yeah, the proper term I guess we use is NDP, so a non-distilling producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which basically means I buy other people's barrels and rebottle.
Okay. And are you showcasing that distillery or is it under your brand name?
So no, I don't showcase. Well, okay. There's two pieces to Storytime. Let's get into that.
Okay. Let's please.
Because that's the delineation. That's where so there's a commercial side that is in development. All right. That's the true Storytime brand. And specifically the whiskey labels that I have lined up are the whiskey is going to be called Crooner's Whiskey.
Okay.
And the purpose in that is I always felt like those 40s and 50s and 60s Vegas singers were the true storytellers.
Yes.
And to me, it was a natural progression from, like, if you think about whiskey today, a lot of the focus is really on Prohibition era, right? There's a lot, and that's largely because there's a lot of stories there. There's a lot of this kind of, you know, mystery about it. Naturally, we've got to progress. And what better next generation to kind of start tagging is that Vegas Mad Men era, you know, Art Deco kind of thing. So to me, Crooners that's just what popped. I was like, oh, Crooners, because they were the best storytellers, right? You know, I think of, you know, the Rat Pack and all of that. So
absolutely.
So that's the commercial brand. So the goal and the purpose of that brand is to at some point launch these bottles into your local area on your liquor store shelves. And I want to target mid-range price. So I want to have, you know, good quality whiskey and target that $50-$60 range SRP. That's, to me, is kind of the sweet spot. And especially now everything's kind of creeping up 70-80. I still want to target that 50-60 because to me, I think that's a price where you can get a bottle, you can drink it, and you don't have to sweat it, you know, and you can share it. You know, you get halfway through, you have no problem leaving with a friend. I don't want this, you know, the secondary kind of scenario. We have these ridiculous prices. To me, all of that's just really offensive. It takes away from what the community is about.
Absolutely.
So then, but the piece that's active, and actually, I said two. There's really three pieces to Storytime. We'll get into all three. But so that's Crooner's Whiskey. That's the commercial brand. I'm continuing to work that in the background. I have a family and a job, and so it's slow going. That's a very tall task, and I'm working it. Then there's the private barrel group, which is how I really kind of kicked this whole thing off, and that's what I call the Authors Guild. Obviously, Storytime, Authors Guild, that's the relationship. You know, I want these story writers, so I want these people part of this guild and go out, perpetuate this idea, this community idea. And the way that works is it's a private club that then I offer single barrel picks, opportunities for people to go on those picks, be a part of those picks, or just to buy them outright. The beauty of that and the intention of that is to never make a single dollar. Like that is not a profit center. It is a net zero game. And I can tell you from doing this now for 2 years as a business, I am negative, so but that's okay. I mean, I knew that was going to be the case, because again, I care more about the community
Mhm.
um, than really the whiskey. The whiskey is a great part, but
Mhm.
it's nothing more than the common thread to get us together.
Right.
So the money isn't the issue there, and I know that if I do it right, I don't have to worry about that because the community will take care of it, right? So
Right.
if you do it correctly, it'll be fine. And again, I'm not trying to be Campari or Beam or anything. I'm not trying to be
Mhm.
anything like other. I just want to be a community focused whiskey brand. So that's the second piece. Then there's the third piece, which is it started, and again, with me being one guy, I had helpers and some people have come and gone. I've got, some more people that have now joined me to kind of start helping. But the third piece was a nonprofit group. And the nonprofit piece of this is called Long Road Home. And my intention with Long Road Home was to have a publicly advised board. So basically a board of director advisors, not directors, board of advisors that basically have the checkbook of the nonprofit. The nonprofit owns 10% of all funds through the distillery, and they actively distribute those funds to the community. That's the plan.
Okay.
Got a lot of the groundwork started, and then the guy that was helping with it got sick, and so he's had to step away, and I've just kind of let it sit because I just haven't had time to finish it out.
Mhm.
But that's another piece of this that I want to continue to work on and get it developed because I think it's so instrumental.
It is.
If you're gonna buy whiskey, um, what better reason than to buy from Storytime or Authors Guild than to know that some of that money is going right back into the community, right?
Yeah,
And we're doing it
absolutely.
through whatever anonymous donations or support causes. I don't want to necessarily tie with any one charity or anything like that because I really want to. There are some people in the community that had personal impacts with health issues, right? And they can't cover medical costs. But yet there's such a valuable person in the community, or even if you don't think they're valuable, but we know that they're a part of the community, they're active, and
Mhm.
we love them, we want to care for them, and we want to, if we can help, we will do that. And that's again, having that public publicly advised board direct that, and then I'm out of the picture, right? It's not me making a decision on who's getting any money or anything. So that's kind of the three-headed dragon, I guess, if you will, of Storytime.
That that to me is really, it's inspirational, especially the nonprofit part of it. As someone who has a lot of financial debt as of right now, which we're working on, when you have to pay $73,000 for a helicopter flight that goes 30 minutes, that's a little out of pocket that you have to pay, and it sucks because a lot of insurances won't pay for air evac and stuff like that.
Right.
And so it makes it kind of difficult to be on the other end of that, but as like you're saying, if you can give back to the community, that makes it that much better because that's the people that are going to in turn support you even
Right.
more when that
Yep.
happens. Not that you're doing it for the additional support, obviously you're doing it to help out, but that's just the little something that happens when you support other people, they want to support you.
Right.
And that's really commendable that, for one, you're not making a time out of it right now
Right.
until you get up and going. And
Yep.
I would really like, once you get this little nonprofit thing up and going, just shoot me some links for it. I'd love to promote it as much as I can on my end.
Okay.
And then that way we can go from there. So let's move on. You said that you're working on getting a couple guys helping you.
Mhm.
So that's cool. Because that
Mhm.
was one of my questions to ask you, how many are on the team. So let's kind of go through. I know your lineup is always changing of, different whiskeys that you either have in stock or you have coming up. What are some of the ones, I guess, that you've had in the past that were either really good sellers or just unique, like unicorn type barrels that you thought, man, these are some amazing whiskeys? Give us a little preview or a post view or
that is a great question, and it's a tough one for me to answer because the reality is that's always my intention when I go on barrel picks. um I don't settle and I won't settle, Like it better be something, and that's not like a threat and ultimatum, but I'm just like, I'm not going to secure barrels for this club that aren't something beyond what you can get today on the shelf. Right? They have to stand out. They have to be exemplary in one way or another. And maybe it's not the most enjoyable whiskey for some people, but there is something about it that sets it apart always in every case. For example, the first release we did was from Driftless Glen. It was we did a bourbon and a rye. We did the bourbon we called Sexual Chocolate, and that was because it had this massive cocoa, like it would just hang out in your lower jaw, and it was like, this is crazy. So that was Sexual Chocolate. Then the rye we did, I called it Kingslayer. And the reason I called it Kingslayer, because that year, Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Rye, the Heritage Edition, was like the most sought after, talked about, amazing rye. And we blinded that rye with these other ryes, and the one we ended up picking beat the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Rye.
Okay.
So we called it Kingslayer for that reason, right? So that was fun. And then that same weekend that we picked those two, I picked 2 barrels at Cat's Eye Distillery, and one was a 16-year-old Obtainium light whiskey that was then finished in a Toppling and Goliath KBBS barrel, and we called that one Christmas, and it was like chocolate caramel brownie batter. Like, it was the most amazing thing.
Lord,
I'll get a sample out to you, that one, because that's one
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
You have not had a whiskey like this. I can assure you, you just haven't. And I've even had subsequent releases. The one particularly that we took was just on another level of exceptional. And then Cat's Eye I think they still do it. I don't know how much more of that light whiskey they've got to do that with, but that was good. But then the other one we did was also a stout finished from the NASA Family Reserve. And that one we called Thanksgiving. So I released those 2. I try to release 2 at a time, because in my mind I'm thinking shipping and all of this. Okay, how can we make this more effective? We'll just do 2 at a time. And my goal is to always do at least 6 a year.
Okay.
So I don't want to nail you every month. I'm not trying to flood your shelves with my single barrels, and I don't want that to be the case. I want you to, experience this. Okay, we've got a couple months behind us. Now we're on to the next one. And that's kind of the phasing mode I want to go through. So those 2 are also exceptional. So Driftless Glen, Cat's Eye. Then the next 2 that I did was, I called it Twins. And the reason I called it Twins, it was 2 6.5-year-old bourbons, both 21% rye MGP mash bill, aged up in Chicago at CH Distillery, who makes Jepson's, Jepson's Malort and Jepson's bourbon. And these barrels were just a few barrels apart in the run. So from the same distillation, but just a few barrels in the fill run. And they aged less than 10 feet apart from each other. But you tasted them, and they were night and day different.
Oh crap.
Like, one had an incredibly long finish. It tasted old, had a lot of oak, but it wasn't as complex on the palate, right? It was just, it had the nice basic bourbon, oaky caramel kind of thing. Then the other one didn't have that crazy finish, but the palate was crazy spicy and exotic, and like had all of this stuff going on in the palate. People still swear that one is a rye, and I keep telling them, like, it is not a rye. Those are the same mash bill. So, and what made me think of it is, you remember that movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
That's what I was thinking of.
I've got these things this is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Like, this is it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
I called that Twins. And really what I wanted to kind of showcase was the impact that a barrel, because truly that's the only variable, right, is the barrel itself, the impact the barrel has on the liquid inside. And so, again, kind of an educational piece, but that's a good one to as a guild, to send it out and you say, okay, hey, here's the story about these bottles. Now, when you share them with others, you can tell people and you can say, look, try this one. These are the same mash bill, distilled the same day and aged, and like bottles filled the same day. Like, one wasn't a bottle that was like the same day, both got bottled. So I was like, it's crazy. Good talking point, right? Really good story, really good engagement. So that all of those went really well. Didn't really have too much issue. The Driftless Glen was easy because that was a low bottle yield. I had 96 of the bourbon and only 72 of the rye.
Oh, wow.
And those rye, people still talk about that rye. I mean, it was just so good. The Christmas and Thanksgiving, people begged me for bottle, and I've got like a couple backups that are in my vault. I'm like, no, those are not coming out. Like,
Exactly.
not happening, bro.
Yeah.
And so those are things like twins. I've still got a couple of those left. I think I may have sold out of them on the site. But I think I've still got, like whatever, a few sets of those. But that one pretty much sold out as well. Then the next one we did was Starlight.
Mm.
So Starlight, I wasn't a huge fan of this one. And this is the one that I had when I had my partners go in there with me at the time. I was excited about Starlight because Starlight was really coming on the scene strong. They had a lot of cool stuff that they were coming out with. And when we went there, loved the distillery. I love that whole setup. Everything about that was amazing. But none of those whiskeys I tasted that day like really set me back. I just wasn't really blown away. But the best out of what we did have was the port finished. And so I was like, okay, we can do a half barrel of port finished. And it is really good. The rub for me is that particular whiskey, because it's only 4.5 years old, and the SRP and what we kind of had to get it sold to people for, it was like $75. And to me, it wasn't so exceptional that I could really stand behind it and say, yeah, you guys need to go get this bottle, because that's how I want to be about every bottle when I release it. If I'm not like passionate about it, then it's not, to me, it's not worth bringing to you guys and saying, here, try this. And so I really wasn't that passionate about that bottle, but my partners were just insistent. They were like, no, this is really good. I'm like, it is really good, but it's not really different. But anyway, long story short, half a barrel, fine. I'll take the risk. Took me forever. Finally got them sold, and I basically sold them at a loss. Like we got those sold for, I was selling them for like $10 less than what I paid for them, just because I was like, man, I'm tired of sitting on them. And they're good bottles, but what had happened too at the same time is when my bottle was ready for shipment, Starlight dumped like 40 other single barrels out at the same time. So the whole market was flooded with these Starlight single barrels. So there was nothing really there to separate. So anyway, lesson learned, right? So at that point I decided, it's like, okay, no longer, if I'm not like just bonkers about it, I'm not doing it. It's just not going to happen. So then the next one that came out, and this is the next one that came out after that one, is really the one I'm most proud of, just because it's the whole idea behind it was mine, from like concept and how to package this thing and how to present it to people, and then the price point that it comes in at, and that's the Old Dragon Bones. So I did that with Backbone Distillery in Indianapolis. We went in there, and Nolan, who is the owner, master blender guy, super awesome guy. I love that guy to death. We get there, we show up to do a barrel pick, and he has on the bar like 8 glasses just laid out there, and we go through all 8 of them. And they were all good, but again, none of them set my hair on fire. So I'm like, okay, I was like, Nolan, man, I really appreciate it, but none of these are they're not hitting. They're not, people can get these. So I said, I don't want to try and compete, because that's not what this is about. It's about, creating this kind of story thing. So he goes, well, wait a minute. I've got one more barrel in the back. If you guys are interested, we can go try this one out. And I go, okay, what is it? He goes, it's a 17-year-old Canadian. I'm like, why the hell, or no, 16-year-old Canadian. Why the hell did you start off with that? Like, right? So 16-year-old Canadian rye. I'm like, okay, let's go check it out. Let's go check it out. So we go back there, and he hands me the drill, and I drill probably, and of course the barrel standing vertically. So I drill about a little over halfway up, nothing comes out. So I go to blow halfway, right above the first ring, and drill. Nothing comes out. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is like empty. So I go right below that ring, and finally it started coming out. So we get it. I pull out the hydrometer. We check it. It checks in. I think it was like 142 or 143. So I'm excited, right? Hazmat. You get to call it hazmat. Like,
Oh yeah.
everyone's excited about it. So I was like hopeful that this thing was going to be good, because man, this is going to be amazing. Well, this had been a double barreled rye too. So, it was in its Canadian barrel for 16 years, and then sat in a new char 3 barrel for about, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. And man, we tasted it. It was so wildly different for anything I've ever had, from a rye, especially a rye like that. So I was like, okay, yes, we want it, but there was only this much in the barrel, right?
Oh,
So
gosh.
we're like, oh no. Well, fortunately, it had 2 barrels,
Okay.
and one barrel was a little bit less proof. So it was like 139, I think, at the time. So like 142 and 139, or maybe it was like 144 and 141, something like, but there's some difference, right? So they were very close to similar. I didn't want to blend them because that's not really what I want to do. If I can avoid blending,
Right.
I don't want to blend multiple barrels. But in this case, I proofed when I got coming back up a little bit, when I got the old Dragon Bones out, it is 140, 144, whatever it was at the time. It was hot. It was very aggressive. And I hadn't really drank many hazmats at that point. So it was kind of wild. So then I proofed it down to about 115, and I was like, oh, it was perfect. It was just like absolutely perfect at 115. So anyway, we get all excited. We're going to do this. And, um, and then we start reaching out to the guild, and we're like, hey, we've got this Canadian thing. It's really good at 115, but just so everyone knows, it is hazmat. So do you guys want me to release it at hazmat? Or like, I'm telling you, 115 is really good. I can get more bottles. And again, remembering that there's only a little bit of the barrel. And everyone's like, no, hazmat, do it at hazmat. So I'm like, okay. And then, so trying to come up with a theme for this pick, it just dawned on me, like, okay, backbone. And I'm thinking, this is hazmat. So I'm thinking fire breathing dragon, like, okay, old dragon bones, man. It's got to be old dragon bones. And so I went to Nolan, and I was like, hey man, I would like to create an actual label, because I Storytime, I am registered with the TTB. I can create TTB labels. And he said, oh no, we can do that. He said, that's not a problem. If you want to do that, he said, we'll just go ahead and get it done. And then one of my partners, Chris Luddig, I sent him a picture of this dragon skull. And I said, hey, I want to incorporate this in the label. I want it to look like the kind of the backbone thing that they've got going on, but I want it to have this dragon. And so he kind of sketched it all out and put a great label together. And that kicked off Old Dragon Bone. So
Awesome.
that one was a lot of fun. And now some of you may or may not know, we've had a second iteration come out, and now I'm starting to name them, right? So the one that came out, that was sherry finished. Is that right? Oloroso, yeah, Oloroso finished. Was Culebra, and then the next one that's getting ready to come, I'm going to start shipping on the 16th, is called Ida, which is, both of those are references to folklore dragons of the region where the secondary barrel is. So yeah, and so now I've got some more of the dragons kind of brewing or incubating, and we're going to have fun with that and continue to do that, as well as continue to do other picks along the way. So
awesome. That's awesome. And is any of those still available, or they're all sold out?
So the Culebra is sold out. The Ida is still, it's on pre-sale right now. I can tell you exactly how many bottles we got available. And here's the other thing. Here's a 7. Now it's up to 8. Well, Culebra is actually an 18-year. Ida is a 17-year, and the price on it's $130. So that's the other thing. I'm trying to be way better than the market would bear in that case.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we still have I'm showing about 40 bottles available for
Okay.
pre-sale.
Okay. You,
So yeah, anyone who's interested.
absolutely. I'll get on there as soon as we get off. And anybody else should as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about since you already kind of mentioned it, choosing a barrel and also choosing a distillery to work with. Like, how do you go about? Do you just go? I don't know where you're located or where you pick from, but like, do you just be like, okay, we're going to Driftless Glen, let's go do it, and we're going to find a barrel, or do they contact you, or what? Kind of give us the lowdown on that.
So the way it started is my buddy Chris Ludwig, who was a partner who's since moved on. He's now an ambassador for Floorgate. He's the one that kind of originally connected the original barrel picks, and it was through a local store to him up in where's that place in Wisconsin? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's basically in that Chicago suburb, but up in Wisconsin area. Um, and the guy's name is Amon. Those were through his store. So he basically, and Amon has a tremendous palate, and does some amazing picks. So if you're ever up there, you got to stop by Amon's because his picks are always just they're awesome. He's just great. But because of that, he's got a really good relationship. So he opened up some doors for us to say, okay, hey, go talk to these people, go talk to these people. And then since then, it's just continuing to build on those relationships and then starting to, cultivate other relationships. And, we've reached out to some distilleries and trying to kind of initiate that from like a cold call scenario, but most of them, it's typically we've got some sort of relationship. I'll tell you, Backbone specifically, I'm really excited to be working with them in the way that I am, because it's a great relationship. They really support what we're doing, and in turn, I'm trying to support them and get their name out there too for people, because I love what he's doing and
Yes.
feel like it's a great product. So, but that's really it. It's truly the relationship. And then as far as the barrel picking process, we go. I try to do all the barrel picks on site. I don't like the idea where I sit down and you hand me what you deem acceptable samples, and I got to choose from your 5 or 3 or 6 or whatever. That's all. That's great, and I totally understand why they do that. But that's not, again, when you're in the hunt for that kind of diamond in the rough scenario, you've got to kind of have. I want carte blanche, right? I want to be able to kind of crawl over your barrels and say, oh, this one it's interesting to me for whatever reason. And that brings up a really good thing, a good point. In a couple of weeks, we're doing an event at Backbone in Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
And it's our Christmas party, essentially, for the Authors Guild. And Nolan has opened up a new tasting room. And in the tasting room, it's really a warehouse. It's over 400 barrels of whiskey in there.
Oh, Lord.
You're given a cordless drill, and basically like, go find your barrel.
That's what you got to do. Yeah.
That to me is the perfect barrel selection process. Like, it does not get any more engaged. There's no more satisfaction, I think, that you can get out of doing it that way. So those that are joining us, and we still got a few spots left open. So anybody that has some interest, reach out. I'll tell you how you can make that happen. It's a Friday, Saturday thing, and then like Friday night we'll get together. Then Saturday all day. Listen to this schedule. This is gonna blow you away. So we're gonna start at 10 a.m. We're gonna go for 2 hours. We're gonna have a break. We're gonna do lunch for an hour-ish, and then we're gonna go another session. And we're going to then at that point narrow it down, and then we're going to walk away with all of us scoring these barrels and then deciding which one's going to be our barrel pick from this event. And then that'll be the next single barrel for the club.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So to me, that is the best thing I can do for this community, is get them into those kinds of experiences, because there is nothing like it. Like, it just really is nothing like it.
There isn't. I've been fortunate enough to be on a couple of barrel picks, and just being in the area, being in the barrel warehouse, And, you know, you might be trying 10, 15 different whiskeys, but, you know, you're not like sloshing them back. You know, you're having
Right, right.
a sample of it, sometimes dumping it out after you're done. I don't do that. You know, you're not going to waste the whiskey, but you get enough to where you can taste it at least. And I mean,
Yep.
just going through there and seeing, like you're saying, the differences between the barrels, they could be the same exact thing, like you say, distilled the same day, pulled the same day. I mean, it is so amazing to see. And then you get one that's kind of a one-off, like, oh, this was a rye, but like it went real funky, and now it's like, you know, it's like hot Cheetos or something. You know,
Right, right.
it goes super crazy, and like, and that's just the, you know, the base material in the wood. That's all it's doing.
That's right.
So it's really cool to see all that happening. So when you do a pick, I mean, a lot of the places that I've noticed, they want you to buy the entire barrel. You know, they want the whole thing. Do you do the entire barrel? But I heard you say something about some half barrels. So do you do half barrels as well?
No, I try not to. Yeah, I usually, if I find a barrel that I think is that exceptional, I want the whole thing because I want the guild to have it.
Right.
And so then I take the financial risk, right? So I've got to lay the cash out to buy the barrel, get it bottled, get it delivered. Um, it hasn't really burnt me yet. Like I said, the only one that hurt was the Starlight, and that was a half barrel. So for that one to hurt me sucks. But I mean, that's, by hurt, I mean, it just means I sat on it, you know. So
Yeah.
I was out cash for a while. But
right.
No, yeah, I secure the whole barrel, and basically, it's property of the guild. The guild owns it, and then the members have the right to purchase their piece of that lot and cover the cost. So I just front the cost.
Got it. So it's an investment up front, but you do, I mean, obviously you're losing a little bit in the end, but you do end up getting, you know, most of the money back for the barrel at least.
Yeah.
And a bottle or two to keep for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. If nothing else, I get a bottle or two to put on the bar.
Yeah, exactly. So talking about that, let's go into some of your favorite whiskeys that aren't ones that you've procured. Let's go outside that realm. Since, you know, we're talking whiskey, you know, like I always tell my crew that one that I go to a lot is either Wild Turkey 101 or Old Grandad. Those are like my two kind of go-tos. I always have it in the bar. It's just there. So that'll give you kind of some guideline to go by. And it doesn't have to be bourbon. Doesn't have to, you know, I'm a single malt guy too. So
I mean, gosh, I've got so many that I love. But the standards, yeah, Wild Turkey 101, if I go out to a public bar, that's usually what I'm going to pick, unless they've got something that I've been looking for, you know, a Parker's or something silly that, you know, you just don't find normally. But yeah, Wild Turkey 101, it's consistent. It's so good. It's not overly complex.
No.
And it's enjoyable. And it's got enough proof that it doesn't get lost, you know, in everything that's going on. So right there with you. And specifically, I don't have it up here. We got a local store here that has just a few left of Wild Turkey 101 1 liters from 2018.
Oh, wow.
And that year was the year that Long Branch was coming online. And so all the 6 and 8 year stuff from Wild Turkey was being put into Long Branch. So the 101 was getting 12, 13, and 16-year-old juice in it. Wow. So and we've got them in the area. People don't know. They walk by them all the time and go, oh, that's just Wild Turkey 101.
Yeah.
And my buddy and I pick them up, and we're like, oh, the laser code, it's a GD, which tells me that's 2018, and it's you know, March or May, I think May. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, these are 2018, and we get them and we try them, and they're noticeably better. It's wild. So yeah, Wild Turkey's a great one. Old Granddad's a good one. Although I tend to go to Knob Creek if I'm going to Beam Profile. I love Knob Creek single barrels. There are none that I've had that I did not enjoy. Like
absolutely
some better than others for sure. But right now I'm on this Booker's kick. These the 03 and the 04 Bookers this year are both just lightning, man.
I've had the O2. I haven't had the 3 or 4 yet, but yeah, I've heard that they're amazing.
Oh, they are. They are. So the O3 is like the traditional beam profile,
Mhm.
but it's like I blinded it, or not blinded it, but side by sided it with a Knob Creek 12 cast strength, which if you've
Mhm.
had that, that's a phenomenal bottle.
Right.
This is almost indiscernible. Like it to me, it is the same. The O3 is the same as a Knob Creek 12 cast strength.
Wow.
There's literally no difference. The O4 is wildly different, totally different palette, but also just as amazing. Like just so really, really good. So those have been great. The Larceny from this, the 923.
Yeah.
I've been sipping on that bottle for the last week or so, and I absolutely love that. And I just got a backup to that. And then I've got a few bottles around me. That's why I'm looking around.
No, it's fine. It's all good.
Even though this is my upstairs, as you can see, my music
Yeah,
room. I got
yeah,
guitars.
exactly. I see. Is that an Ibanez back there?
Yeah, the blue one.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's pretty awesome.
That one.
Pretty
Yep.
awesome. Yep.
Yep. And then I got what's that? That's a not a Gibson. What's the other one? Epiphone. Yeah, that's the Epiphone.
Epiphone.
Les Paul.
There you go.
That's an old Mexican Strat up there. And then I got my American Ultra Deluxe Strat down here, which is just my new favorite.
Right.
And I got a Telecaster and a whole bunch of acoustic stuff. So yeah,
sweet. Not to get off topic, but I saw it in the background. I had to say, I've been playing bass for 30 years, since I was in high school or whatever, and got into guitar later on, all self-taught. I don't know how to play. I just strum along and play stuff. But yeah, I really got into guitars for a minute, and then now they just sit, and I look at them and say, one day we'll get back together. But it's good. It's good to have. It's good fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. The Larcenys, the Elijah Craig 923. I mean, those are always those barrel proofs are always nice.
Absolutely. I've been looking for Elijah Craig 923, but I can't find them in my area. Like for some reason, like it's funny how like the different areas, and I know it's all, we're 3-tier here, so it's more difficult. It goes to Dallas and then it stops right there and nobody else gets nothing. But I was able to pick up the A123, but not any of the others. And I've been looking and talking to the liquor store people, like I tell everybody to have relationships with your liquor store people.
100%.
But okay, so that's a pretty good little thing. So what is let's talk about the future of Storytime, and and I know this is kind of a double-edged sword sometimes talking about stuff like this, but let's talk longer term. Are you looking to get, because you said you were doing bourbons and rye, are you looking to get into single malts, or is that your game, or no? Because American single malts are doing some amazing stuff right now.
There's no doubt, and I love Stranahan's single cast strengths. That is, to me, is one of the best single malts in the world. It's ridiculous good. Ridiculous good. Another one is the Quintessential from Cedar Ridge.
Absolutely. I was just fixing to say that.
That is another fantastic single malt. Del Bach is doing some really good stuff with single malt.
You're trying to butter me up, aren't you? You're saying all the good ones.
So yeah, I'm not opposed to it. The Guild, I don't think is there palate wise yet, and for me to do that would be a really financial risk on my part.
Absolutely.
I'd much rather point people to those things and say, hey, go find a Stranahan single cast strength. That'll change your mind on single malts right there, because that is the perfect single malt to get a bourbon drinker to start drinking single malt.
Absolutely. You are correct there.
I love them. I mean, I'm not just whiskey. Like I think I alluded to, I got into tequilas first. I love tequilas, and I love what tequila's doing now. Like tequila's really starting to come into its own now.
It is.
I like Sodal, the old Texas tequila baby. That's some good stuff too. I'm excited to see what they do. Rums, I've got some really great rums out on the bar too that I enjoy. So I'm not limited personally, but for me to do something, a Storytime would have to be I'd have to have a lot of feedback from the crew, like, hey,
Right.
let's
Right.
let's let's go try this out, and then I'd
Right.
I'd, I'd probably consider it.
No, that's cool because I know there's a couple of really cool single malt distilleries in my area that are always doing single barrel programs and stuff that make some amazing juice. But if, like you say, if you don't have the people there to buy the product, you're going to be sitting on a barrel of whiskey, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to sell it. You can't drink that many bottles that fast.
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I'm in a little single barrel group here in town, and they go pick up barrels from all over and stuff. But the issue is, they never get a single malt. And I asked the guy, I was like, why don't you? He goes, they don't sell. And I'm like, but they do sell because they sell. But he
Right.
goes, not with, depends upon the group. And
Yep.
some groups sell. And he's like, if you want that, you go to Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Yep.
Get you some good single malt, I guess.
Yeah. The
So
problem with that is it's so expensive. Scotch
absolutely,
malt.
shipping is it's crazy. I shipped
Yeah.
something to a buddy of mine, a fellow listener, and he lives in Scotland. Shout out Steve. And he, dude, I mean, just shipping it over there, I was like, I'm not shipping a baby. Like, it is a little bitty box. Like, what
Right.
in the world is going on? You got go
Yeah.
through all this rigmarole just to get it over there, and then they go, we can't guarantee it's going to make it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How can you not guarantee it's gonna make it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
so let's get back to the future.
Yeah. So, well,
that
you
was
mentioned
fun.
it. You mentioned a good point, and that's so after this Idaweto, which is the rum finished Old Dragon Bones.
Mhm.
I'm going to be restructuring the guild in a way that I want everyone to go, because right now we do it two ways. You do either $100 a year or you do $10 a month. The problem with the $10 a month is, it's nice because you have $10 every month kind of coming in, and you get a few
Right.
people doing that, which is great. Um, but then people treat it like it's a Patreon, and I'm like, no, it's really it's an annual subscription, and I
Yes.
it's you don't understand. All that does is supplement my cost to go do these barrel picks and to develop the labels and the
Yes.
whatever. So in an effort to kind of focus that, I'm going to move to an annual plan only, but the annual plan only is now going to be all free shipping.
Okay.
So yeah, so everything going forward after, and this will be probably like right at the first of the year, I'm going to start asking people to convert over to annual.
Mhm.
And people want to stay on monthly, that's fine. They can continue to do that, but they're going to pay shipping. Or you can go to the annual, and then I'm not going to offer the monthly anymore going forward, just because it just people go in, they hear about a bottle, they hear a review, they sign up, they pay for 1 month, which is fine. And then they're out. They buy the
Yes.
bottle, and then they go, "Oh, I'm
Yes.
out." And
Yeah.
then the next month they come back, and it's like, I want it to be a benefit to you to be a part of the club.
Right.
So I want you to get something out of your money.
Mhm.
Um, and I was doing like Glens and stuff like that, but that's been really hard to keep up with. And I know a lot of
It
people I
is.
owe them Glens and coins. I'm like,
Yep.
I feel like it's just total jackass because you just
Yeah.
get overwhelmed with everything. So I'm just
Believe me,
like,
I
the best thing,
understand.
yeah, the best thing I could do really is just say, you know what, we're gonna just your $100 a year now is going to cover your shipping for a year,
And
right?
that's very reasonable, because shipping a bottle, it can get pretty expensive
Oh
depending
yeah.
depending upon where you're at. It can get pretty expensive because
Hmm.
again, I shipped a bottle to somebody else, and I was like, what? It costs that much just to ship that? Well,
Yeah.
shit, yeah. So I get it, I get it. But yeah, no, that's super cool. And so are you just continuing to find cool distilleries that you can find cool barrels from, and just keep going like that? Or is there some that you're gonna, like with Backbone, that you're gonna continue to work with throughout?
Yeah, so we'll continue to work with Backbone, for sure, and because I got more Old Dragon Bones coming, but I'm like, I did these two back to back. I don't ever want to do that again. I really want to do one, and then maybe 6 months later do another
Right,
one, kind of a thing.
right,
I really don't want to do them back to back, but this one was just ready, and I was like,
right.
well, crap, it's ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, we're reaching out to others, and I'm trying to focus on distilleries that are kind of up and coming, or that are exceptional in their own right, but people don't know about them. When
Mhm.
we did Driftless Glen was just coming to be known, and
Yep.
and so that was perfect for us. That was a good one for us to work with. You know, Backbone's great for us to work with because no one, Jepson's was great for us to work with because nobody knows about Jepson's. And I'm wanting to highlight, you know, these distilleries. So we're in talks with 13th Colony. We're in talks with Corbin and Cash, and you know, those are the types of people that I want to work with because they have a passion for it, especially at the fledgling level. You know, where they're really starting to ramp and get some momentum, and there's passion for it. So I know that they're excited about what they've got, and I want to perpetuate that through the group. And I want to showcase those types of things and say, you know, look, this is what this distillery can do. And hopefully encourage them to try their, you know, their commercial offerings too, you know, the normal stuff. So
but buyer beware on that, because most of the single barrels are way better than their commercial stuff, and that's just only because, you know, they have to blend to a profile, and with a single barrel you kind of get what you get. A lot of times it's a little higher proof, a lot of times it's just thicker and richer and nicer. You know, sometimes it can be overly tannic and stuff, but just depending. But yeah, no, I encourage people to do that all the time as well, because like, if you love this single barrel, you're gonna probably like the rest of their offering. You know, that's just kind of how it is.
The perfect example of that too, to me, is Strand Hands. Their single casks are just on another planet, and their normal offering stuff, I'm like,
okay, it's good.
It's good. Okay, right? I'm not like going. I'm not going. Oh, it's just me. It's all right. But man, their single barrels. Oof, I love their single barrels.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to join the guild, how would they go about doing that?
So you head over to storytimedistillery.com. We have the Authors Guild membership options down there. Like I said, I'm gonna be restructuring that soon, which we can grandfather people in. Like I said, there's a ton of different things that are going to happen over the next month. We're trying to get that kicked off, so it's much better. That's why, like I said, I've got two guys that have joined me now, Ryan and AJ from Those Bourbon Guys. They're on YouTube if you know who they are. So those two have joined with me to help with kind of the overall thing, and their focus is really going to be the Authors Guild itself, so I can focus on the commercial, kind of get that accelerated, and they can focus on keeping the community alive and vibrant. But yeah, go head over there. We're going to do some restructuring, but don't sweat it. Sign up there, and as soon as you sign up and you become a member, then you have access to all of the single barrels that we've done or that are available. And then the general public can go there, and actually we do have some branded merchandise. Like this is one of them, the hat I did, an old Dragon Bones hat. We just got some stuff like that over there, some sweatshirts and stuff, like, you know, the typical swag stuff,
absolutely, you know? Absolutely. That's really cool. So guys, make sure you head over there to get in the guild, because it sounds like there's going to be some really cool stuff coming in the future, and the more people in the guild means more barrel picks, which means he might have to do 2 barrels and have them come out, you know, like, or 3 barrels just to meet up. So get over there and make sure you get on that. I'm fixing to head over there myself. So all right, so we're gonna wrap this one up. I think. Oh, what? No, we're not. One of the things I wanted to ask you about your commercial side, because since we're into that, we're into all the geekery of that. Do you have plan work? Do you have site work? Do you have actual fermenters and still set up yet? Or is this still, how's this going?
Yeah. So I live on a 5-acre piece of land.
Okay.
My house sits right in the middle.
Okay.
And on the back 2 acres, I have a 3,000 square foot building.
Okay.
That's going to be the distillery.
Okay.
But that's still a ways off, right? And that's a ways off before anything that comes out of there is going to be consumed by anyone other than myself, probably.
Right.
So that's ongoing, and that's kind of my little pet project while I've got this other stuff going too. The initial plan right now, and the way I'm working it, is I'm trying to secure barrels. I've got some friends in the industry that we're going to work together to do some blending. We're going to do various whatevers, and then we're going to start putting this out.
Okay.
But as far as site plans, I mean, I do have a plan here. there's broader plans. There's a big vision for a lot of it, but you know, all of that can change on a dime. So
Absolutely.
I have hopes and dreams, and I would love to see it come to pass. I will tell you, I regularly host events here on my house, at my house, on my property,
Hmm.
uh, where I invite, you know, or make it available for, you know, 15, 20 people. We usually make it a weekend. I've got a separate building over here that's my bar, and basically that opens up. Some people stay here at the house, some people go stay at a hotel. I get a shuttle and get them back and forth, and we just make a weekend of just hanging out and being friends, and you know, talking about whiskey, and then just, you know, busting each other's balls all weekend long. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
so I try to do that at least once a year. I'd like to do that twice a year as well. That's something that, and I want this thing to grow potentially, and I have all the ability to do that. I've got 2 acres in front of me that's all flat grass.
Hmm.
Um, if it continues to go and the distillery keeps going, then what my wife and I have talked about doing is buying a bunch of those little like tiny houses
Hmm.
and using those as the hotels, and like have people come do these events.
Right.
Because I've got a whole, you'd have to see it. It's pretty. It's This house was made really for hosting people,
Right.
um, and so it's the way it's kind of laid out. It's perfect for this. And then over connected to my property is 20 acres with a small house in the middle of it. Ideally, in my dream world, everything kicks off. My wife and I buy that place. We move into that house. We turn this into the distillery hotel, if you will,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
we host events and everything here. And you know, just that would be the perfect scenario.
Yeah, that sounds like it. And the fact that your wife is so cool about people just hanging out at the house, that's a pretty big deal too.
She's usually not around.
Okay.
She's like, I'm gonna go hang out with my girlfriends this
Yeah,
weekend. So
exactly. You have fun, don't break anything.
that's right, exactly.
All
Yeah.
right, that's awesome. So I'm super excited about the future for sure, and the future picks that are coming and stuff like that. I can't wait to see what's going on there. I'm just looking through my notes to make sure I got everything I wanted. So why don't you go ahead and give us your socials, where people can find y'all, email, website, whatever, and then we'll
Okay.
go from there.
Yeah. So obviously the main website, storytimedistillery.com. You can go on YouTube and it's Storytime Distillery, Instagram, Storytime. I think I've got Crooner's Instagram, Facebook, same thing, Storytime Distillery. Um, yeah, I'm trying to get better at pushing information out, and making sure people know what's going on, because I've had people go, "Hey, when are you guys doing the next thing?" So I was like, got to get better at this and make sure people know what's going on. But yeah, so just the usual channels. You know, we've talked about doing more Instagram stuff or more TikTok stuff or any of that, and all that might come about.
Mhm.
All of it's in the works, and we started a Discord.
Okay.
That's something that I'm focusing on. Actually, tonight I'm doing the first. I'm hosting the first, I guess, open bar on Discord tonight, so people are welcome to come over there. See if I can pull it up here while I'm talking to you. I think it's called Authors Guild Server.
Okay.
You can look that up, request to join if you want, or email me, Shane at storytimedistillery.com, and ask about the information. I'll send you a link. We'd love to build that community. I really want to start using that. I think that's a great platform to kind of
Yes,
enrich and connect people.
it is.
So we really want to take advantage of that. And I'm going to start doing regular events over there with people, like tastings, and you know, people get interested. I'll do like little sample pack kind of tasting things and stuff like that, just to kind of, you know, connect and keep people going, you know.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, Discord kind of got a bad rap for a little while, and then now I think people are getting back into it, and it's turned into a thing. Where you can kind of keep pick up the conversation you had a week ago and just get right back into it.
Right.
It's kind of cool. It's a lot different than like a Instagram live or something like that, where it's kind of spotty and you don't know who's going to be online at that particular time. You can kind of just comment as needed, which I find pretty cool, because I'm not always on my phone on Discord or whatever. And so when I
Right.
come back in, I can look at the old posts and be like, oh, okay, I know where we're at now. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. All right. Any last things before we wrap up?
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I wish you all the best.
I appreciate
Please
that.
keep me abreast of your situation.
I will.
And I'm keeping you in my thoughts and prayers for sure.
Appreciate it.
Your family's in my thoughts and prayers. I know that's never an easy situation, but
No,
hey,
it's not. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it.
that's
All
right.
right.
That's right. It's all positive. But
Absolutely.
and again, just thanks for doing your part in enriching this community, and that's what you're doing. And
That's
I
what
can't
I'm
thank you
trying to
enough.
do.
Absolutely.
All right. So stick on real fast. I want to talk
Yep.
to you. But until next time, guys, keep your spirits up.